Many urban natures offers an acupunctural approach to the intervention on the site of Jyoti Nagar's housing board flats. Operating tactically and incrementally, the proposal aims to heal the built environment and cultivate place, while elevating the stories of the residents and recognizing them as agents of urban change. The proposal takes the shape of a graphic novel where Ravi, one of the residents, invites the reader to take a pause and wander through the neighborhood streets and courtyards, learning from the residents about adaptation and small pleasures of the urban life. This imagined conversation also offers a glimpse into the slow transformation of neighborhoods in the hands of time and its dwellers, while the city around changes rapidly. Using strategies for long climate change action toolkit, RIA for Cities feasibility checklist allowed us to further extend the life cycle of the existing buildings and implement nature-based climate solutions. This proposal celebrates the hidden social ecologies on the site. Generous provisions of green open space are central to building resilience to the changing climate and should be required in every redevelopment. With it, the planning, design, and management of nature-based infrastructures will extend their ecological, economic, and social cultural benefits across Jaipur, touching the lives of every citizen. Now, I would like to introduce you to Ravi.
It was a Saturday afternoon in mid-spring as I walked along Sahakar Marg Road in Jaipur on my way to a monthly meeting for my living community, Jyoti Nagar housing flats. As I walked along the road, admiring the spring day, I began to recall memories from my time in Jaipur. Continuing along the road, I approached a rundown housing complex. In front of it sat a monolithic billboard picturing a wealthy couple and an advertisement for new luxury apartments. Time and time again, I'd see things like this, and it was beginning to frustrate me. How can the city talk about redevelopment without hearing any input from the actual residents, I thought. None of the new developments reflected any of the growing climate challenges we faced. As I turned to continue my walk, a newspaper tumbling along the sidewalk blew into me. As I picked it up, I noticed a column highlighting the temporal conditions in Jaipur and factors contributing to the changing climate. As I thought about how climate effects were indeed growing, I was reminded of the day I moved to Jaipur 5 years ago. It was a particularly hot day near the end of summer. Having grown up in Chandigarh, a city known for its green spaces, I could not forget how surprised I was by the absence of green space when I arrived. I remembered the hot sun beating down on me as I lugged my belongings up into my new apartment. I gained an immediate understanding that day of the intensity of the summer heat after moving in without much tree cover and seeing street vendors try to fit themselves into the limited shady areas to escape the sweltering sun. That same day, after moving all of my belongings up into my new apartment, my good friend Sai, who just happened to live down the hall, wanted to show me around the Central Park in Jaipur. Walking there in the sun, without much shade, was more tiring than I had anticipated. We were so ready to go into the park and get out of the sun. But once we finally arrived, to our despair, we found that its gates were closed and we couldn't go in. Back to my walk, I was getting close to the park where the meeting was being held. With a little time still left to walk, I flipped the page of the newspaper and found a section about the many unlandscaped areas with bare soil surfaces in Jaipur. This reminded me of yet another memory. A rainy day during the monsoon season when my clothes got drenched from the rain and got splattered with mud from my commute through the busy, crowded streets. Busy was more like an understatement. My commute through the streets involved weaving my way through crowds of pedestrians, hurrying out of the way of vehicles and elephants alike, and interacting with local street vendors. Ravi, cut short of my daydream, Sai was running towards me as I walked up to the group. Remember Anya's friend, Amar, the one who works at the design firm on Pankaj Singhavi Marg right near our apartments? They're here at the meeting, he exclaimed. Since expressing concerns at past meetings of increased rent, length of construction process, and potential relocation in the event of redevelopment, my community had decided we wanted to preserve and improve the existing conditions of our home. As Sai and I walked up to the group, I could hear the excitement of my fellow neighbors finally having their ideas heard. Together, my community and Amar's firm formed a plan to take an incremental approach to redevelopment and select additions and reconstructions of only specific buildings. We set goals to improve the quality of units, make more space to welcome new residents into our neighborhood, and to have a large focus on curating the outdoor communal spaces to better serve everyone who occupied them. I also got the opportunity to express my climate concerns and observations to the design team and got to play a role in the planning process. Because of that, I was able to make sure improving the neighborhood's ecosystems was a priority in the design. Over the course of the following few weeks, we worked hard in our co-creation of designing a more sustainable, equitable home. Anya worked closely with the design team as they developed plans to increase green spaces along streets and in the center park of the neighborhood. One component of this was applying for funding through a microloan to build rain gardens. By late summer, things were beginning to come together. We had gotten word that our microloan was approved, and we had successfully begun planting flowers and trees to build rain gardens. Thanks to the close collaboration with a Mars firm, Sai and I helped them lead a team to remove parts of the Amshiv Jyoti Park walls. By doing this, we gave our community easier access to the new green spaces. We also redesigned sections to serve multifunctional uses for plantings, displays of art, and street vendor use. As we worked, time seemed to go by in a whirlwind. In early fall, while out for a morning walk through my neighborhood, I was admiring our community's hard work and progress. As I walked towards the center of our neighborhood, I could see that Sai's idea to use environmentally sensitive bamboo for scaffolding on the building exteriors was progressing quickly. I was so excited to see that the shading for apartment interiors was being improved, as it would get quite hot in my unit by late afternoon. By mid-fall, our efforts were nearing completion. With the help of a Mars firm, we had successfully foregone a total redevelopment of our neighborhood, prolonged our tenure, avoided displacement, and strengthened our community bond and agency. We now had guaranteed access to green space and outdoor shaded areas, safer neighborhood streets, improved apartments with operable shading, and additional space to welcome new members into our community. As our hard work became more known among similar areas throughout Jaipur, other communities facing the same challenges we once faced became inspired to take similar action in their own neighborhoods. Hey, Ravi, is it? I was out for a morning walk again, enjoying the improved green spaces in my neighborhood. I turned around to find a stranger approaching me. Hi, I was surprised they knew my name. Yes, my name is Ravi. Are you from Jyoti Nagar housing flats? Can you tell me about your community?
Any urban nature story has set out on a goal to help voice the resident needs and the concern in the area with doing little redevelopment. The concern would one be listened, but more with the voice of the community members. This story focused on nature and a community-driven project. Residents in Jyoti Nagar like Ravi has built themselves live there. Years of creating families and the communities. They have years of knowledge and understanding of the problem that are happening in the area. Local residents do not regard a redevelopment plan as the correct direction to move in. Worried about displacement and the community relationships and the families that would be affected, those members would be a better understanding of what they might need to move forward with a growing population. The team took the idea and used a precision identification tool to make sure we touch the site as little as possible to not ruin the community that are already in place. To first start, the designers looked at how to make those communities flourish more and take the natural component of the site. This allowed the residents like Ravi to take the most issues without redeveloping any business or homes. The team looked at something native that would help the environmental issue and sort out issue around the flooding and the drought, using strategy for law and climate change action toolkit and the PRIA for city feasibility checklist allow us to inform our design. These important elements should be implemented all across the region in order to help all future developments into combat the externalities of the climate change. Throughout the story, we then began to focus on the community needs and the voice of the residents in the area. Who is this, why, and how they would be able to start their project and tackle the concern they see in the area. Those ideas would be covered in microloan, a community-driven loan to help out the project that residents see the importance. It would no longer be our project, it would be their project. People who live there and use the street area every day. People who know the problem and see the the issue. We are seeking to make them voice louder and help them pave their future and address the issue they say. That's all about many urban nature story. Thank you for your listening.